Hi there. Today we're celebrating the fact that the 2nd of September is National Chianti Day in the US. So I have here a bottle of Chianti Classico from Marchese Antinori. This is their 2018 Riserva, and this is a wine produced at the Tignanello estate, a famous Tuscan estate. The Antinori family have been making wine in Tuscany since the 14th century, so incredible long history. They're a large, well-distributed company. In 1900, they bought this famous vineyard, Tignanello, right in the heart of the Chianti Classico region. A fantastic site because mostly on south-facing hillsides, so lovely warm site. Moving on a bit, in 1971, they by that stage they were quite frustrated by the rules governing the making of Chianti, and they chose to come out of the system and just label their wine as a Vino da Tavola at that stage, and it's now an IGT Toscana. Because at that stage you had to put certain white grape varieties in a red wine, so varieties like Malvasia and Trebbiano had to go in there, and that diluted the concentration of the wine. Helped the acidity, but diluted a little bit. And you couldn't add other international varieties to beef up the wine, and they wanted to plant Cabernet Sauvignon. So, as I say, in 1971 they chose to include Cabernet Sauvignon in their wine and labelled it as a Vino da Tavola. So one of the early super Tuscans. And actually, this is a wine. I'm sorry, I'm talking about another wine here, but this is a wine that shows that coming full circle, because from the same estate, Marchese Antinori now make this Chianti Classico, and the point is that you now no longer have to put white grape varieties into Chianti, and you are now by law allowed to include Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. So this is about 90% Sangiovese, as you'd expect from a Chianti, but with the balance being made up predominantly of Cabernet Sauvignon, but with a tiny bit of Cabernet Franc as well there. And that's just adding a bit more weight and depth to the wine, and probably a bit more structure as well. The other thing that Tignanello was famous for was for the fact that it was one of the first wines in the Chianti region, not a Chianti, but in the region, to be aged in oak. And typically Tignanello ages for about 14 to 16 months in small oak barrels in barrique. Now this wine also ages in oak for about a year, so not quite as long, but doesn't do too badly. So similar blend, similar estate, winemaking not too dissimilar, and this wine sells for about $40 US, as opposed to about 170 for its big brother, the Tignanello. So potentially a bargain there. So let's see what we think of the wine. Looking at it there, its colour, it's got a lovely vibrancy to a ruby red colour, which is of medium intensity, but actually has quite a dark colour. Looking, I mean, I can see through the rim. There's no purple in there whatsoever. This is all very, very red coloured, and I can only just see the stem of the glass through it. So there's a good, it's good dark pigmentation there. Smelling it, predominantly you've got a high-toned cherry aroma there, but behind it there's, it's high-toned but not bursting, juicy, fruity. There's slight notes of volatility, truffle, mushroom, that sort of maybe slightly peppery, perhaps a little bit of oak coming through there. Tasting it. The wine combines a number of attributes. You've got lovely fresh mouth-watering acidity, and you've got fine, quite astringent tannins, and I'm finding those at the front of my mouth, on the tip of my tongue, and on the roof of my mouth at the front. And behind that, on the back of my tongue, there's this more juicy red cherry, a bit more bursting, but again notes of spicy pepperiness over the top of that, and a little bit of that sort of truffly development as well. Through the tannins you're seeing a tiny touch of the sort of cedriness there, and all of this, as I say, being enlivened by this lovely fresh acidity. The alcohol seems in balance. 14% alcohol, so there's that should be fairly warming, but it's not making it big and rich. So it's a nicely concentrated wine, but really only mid-weight. The acidity is giving the fruit a lovely length of flavour, those sort of red fruit flavours, red cherry, red currant coming through on the finish, along with sort of oaky spices there. So a wine whose acidity and structure suggests that it can age, and it's showing that sort of starting to show a little bit of sort of truffly development. I think this could age beautifully for 10 years quite happily. That would be fairly typical for Chianti. So happy National Chianti Day, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the celebrations. Bye now.